Welcome back. We've talked about it on this show. Certainly you've heard a lot about artificial intelligence and how it's going to change the world, but at what cost? For Luanne Rice, a local New York Times bestselling author, the cost might be significant. She joins me here in Studio A to explain. Welcome back. One of my favorite guests. Thank you for being here.
Love being here.
I also think you and I might be the only two people still using Twitter or X or whatever it's called. So that's where we see each other's posts on there. And I saw a post by you, and our producer did as well, talking about some of your books that are being used to train AI. So for our viewers, there's this Books 3 data set, 183,000 pirated ebooks that are being used to train AI. And you posted a list of your titles that are on there. What was your reaction when you found out?
So I didn't know this was a thing. Of course, I'd heard of AI, but this summer, a neighbor said to me, how are you going to feel when your books are used with AI? And I said, oh, they won't be. There's no way. There's no way to approximate the emotion and everything. So I thought I dismissed it. And then somebody sent me the list of my books that have already been used to train AI. And I was really shocked. I felt extremely upset, violated. And of course, I've gotten very into the solution that we're hopefully going to have, but yeah. Well,
I know the Authors Guild has a class action lawsuit going. They're seeking compensation for authors whose work has been used. So for our viewers, they're taking your books, and in this case, pirated, so an ebook version that nobody even paid for, inputting it into AI, which just combs tons and tons and tons of data sources and use it to predict text and things like that as a training mechanism. What's your concern with that happening?
So first of all, mostly piracy is more like when a book is scanned, like a hardcover or a hard copy book is scanned and then is sold as that book with my name on it, the title, and that happens, and that's like stealing from me essentially. When we find out about that, my agent does a cease and desist, and desist. Although this is an existential situation, so I think that's why I said that. But the AI is different. Because that's like, in a way, it's sucking the soul out of my entire body of work and out of the books that they are using, but also just in general trying to approximate my voice. So writing a book in my voice, trying to get my emotions, but they most likely will not title it one of my existing titles. It would be something brand new, as if it were written by me. But of course it isn't.
Your books, the books that were on that list were older titles. Yes. What did you make of why they were chosen?
I was wondering about that. So the older titles, and they're more romantic, those titles are. So I don't know if they're trying to get into the way that I feel about love. And, the first one on that list is Cloud 9. That's probably the favorite book of mine I ever wrote. I wrote it when my mother was dying of cancer, and it's a novel, so it's based on that and on these incredible feelings that I had and what our family went through. So I do think that, in fact, when I wrote it, and this is sort of true of me in general, frequently when I finish a novel, I'm sobbing, because I feel the characters' emotions. My publisher sent that book out to all the accounts and all the reviewers with a box of Kleenex. Now, can AI do that? Like, can AI really get into the heart and soul of a character or of a novel, or is it just approximated? I have no idea, but I don't like it.
And I told you, in Newsweek, there was an author, Tim Boucher, who wrote back in May, he's published 97 sci-fi books, totally with AI. He spent 6 to 8 hours on each book, and he's selling them for between $1.99 and $3.99. He's made thousands of bucks. He says this is great.
So is he a writer, or is he, what is he? Because that's not writing, in my opinion. Writing is sitting down at the desk. I've been doing this for a long time, for decades, 4 decades, I think. Really my whole life. I dropped out of college to write, and so I put so much into my creativity and into what I write and into the process after that, because then there's the editorial process and the copy editing process and the proofreading process, and that's something that I do along with my editor. Now, if that's something I could plug into a machine and have them do it, it's not writing. It's something, but it's...
Well, that was something that Forbes magazine said if there was a good side to AI in publishing, it might be that some of those time-consuming tasks could be shortened, but you disagree because that's part of the process.
I totally disagree with that, and it's also part of the pleasure of writing. Of course, as I told you recently, revision is, it's really difficult, it's a lot of work, but you're so involved in your book and in your characters, and you improve it yourself in subtle ways, that AI I don't think could ever begin to touch, and it's like, it's not just getting it right, like, oh, the character's eyes are blue in chapter 3, and they're, you forget and you make them brown in chapter 8. You catch all that, it's true, and maybe AI could do a better job, or not a better job, but, catch it more easily.
Sure.
Right. But meanwhile, you're getting to know your characters better, and you're improving it in ways that are, really crafted, and creative.
Well, what about from the end user? So, as you know, I'm halfway through your book, Last Day, and don't tell me who killed Beth. I don't want to know yet. I'm going to read the rest of it. But why should the people who buy your books and read your books and consume other people's books be as concerned as you are about this?
Well, you mentioned Last Day. Like, here's just an example. I drew that on that book particularly from a murder that affected my family. And so there's all of that goes into it, like what I went through, what they went through, what the families, and it's fiction, so obviously I'm not writing something journalistic, but publishers love when something is based on your real life. Why do you think they do? It's like it adds something to the story. It adds something for the reader, because the reader reads it and then wants to find out what really happened. If it were AI, it's kind of like pulled out of some weird, ether. And it's not real. It's maybe it's entertaining. I mean, maybe it's entertainment. If a reader doesn't care, it possibly is entertaining, but that's as much as I can.
We only have about a minute left. Someone took a look at the Amazon Kindle list of top 100 books for teens. They looked at them all. 19 of the 100 were real books. The rest were all AI fakes. So what needs to happen next? Quickly, we have 30 seconds left.
Okay, well, first of all, the bestseller is not the best, in my opinion, it's not the best measure of a good book. So I think that the reader should look at the author, make sure it's a real author, and read the real author's books.
Support that real author who wrote those stories.
And enjoy them more than an AI book. It's the difference between eating cotton candy and having a really good meal. AI is the cotton candy of books.
And even if some guy's publishing books in 6 hours and people are reading them, it's not the answer.
To me, it's not.
And your next book will be out in February?
Yes, February 1st, last night.
Look for that by a real author. She's sitting right here, so you can tell. Luanne Rice, we'll have you back when your new book comes out. We appreciate having you here again. Certainly a lot of interesting issues with AI.
Thank you, Eric.